welcome back, you guys, to Me and Will's The More You Know podcast. We are so happy to be in the building today, and today's topic is networking.
Yes.
And today our guest in the building is Miss Chi Chi Okezie. Welcome.
Listen. I'm so super excited. Listen, Chi Chi came highly. Listen. She came highly recommended from a good friend of ours, a good business partner, Mr. William O'Neill. I got to give you a shout out, William. Got to give you a shout out, William. If you haven't seen William O'Neill, you got to go to that episode. He's amazing.
Absolutely.
He connected us with, and this is all about networking, right?
Absolutely.
It's about
All
connecting.
about networking.
Yes.
I'm so excited about that topic because networking, whoo, you got to do it, but sometimes it's difficult. So I can't wait to talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Chi Chi Okezie. I am owner and producer of my company, which is Black and woman-owned, called Simple Networking.
Wow.
And I am the daughter of Nigerian immigrants. So my dad came here to the United States in the mid-'60s to go to school. And my mom came in the mid-'70s, and I was born and raised in Brooklyn.
Wow.
Brooklyn. Is Brooklyn in the house? Is
Brooklyn
in
is
the
in
house?
the building.
Brooklyn. We got some family from Brooklyn, so I love it. I love it.
Now, how long did you live in Brooklyn?
Till I was about 13.
Okay.
And the concept there, Key, was, you live in Brooklyn, you're born in Brooklyn, live in Brooklyn, you die in Brooklyn.
Okay.
So the whole
Okay.
concept of leaving, like our family was like, you're going where? You're going to Atlanta?
Right,
What?
right.
And we had our stereotypes about the South.
Of course.
Yep, of course.
And they're still there.
Right?
They're still there for everyone.
But nonetheless, as I had told you before, went to high school here, ended up going to Emory and stayed, and then, built this networking empire.
Wow. Listen, I want to say we're
phenomenal.
super excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you
We're
for coming.
honored
We
to have you
appreciate
here
Thank you.
today to talk about networking because networking is so important no matter what business, whether you're in real estate like us, whether you're in whatever your business is, you have to be able to network. And I was telling Keisha earlier when we were preparing for this interview that even on a personal level, expanding your network, being able to connect with people and do things that you might not have done before, different cultures, so there's so much benefits in networking. So what made you create your company? And tell us the name of your company. I'm gonna let you tell it.
Okay, so the name of my company is Simple Networking.
I love it. I love it.
Because I want to make networking simple. It shouldn't be
Yeah.
intimidating.
Ooh, I
It
love
shouldn't
it.
be complicated. We don't need 12 steps on how to do anything.
Right. Because
And,
beyond
yeah.
step number 4, we're
Right.
totally lost. It's all about quick these days, right? Fast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I actually really learned about networking when I was interning at the French American Chamber here in Atlanta, the Atlanta chapter. And I learned a lot about building the relationships, about actually talking to different people, different cultures, because not everyone in France speaks French. And not everyone that is French is from France. So you have, colonialism. That's kind of my background from Nigeria being a former British colony. So learning to speak even in French. You thought networking is hard in English.
Wow.
It can be
Absolutely,
challenging
yeah.
in French. And so from that experience, it really opened my eyes about the way that you carry yourself, how you communicate, and also branding, like the way that you brand yourself, and about building relationships. And I really liked the organization because it wasn't just French people that were in there. Like I said, you had French-speaking people or Francophone people from all around the world and represented many, many different industries, academics or academia, small business owners that are, abroad that want to come here. And they had great partnerships. That was the other piece, seeing that aspect. They partnered, of course, with the French consulate or Consulat Général de France in France.
Wait a minute. I got to stand up. Wait. You got to do that again. You got to do that again. So it just flew out.
Yes.
I love it.
Nicely.
I love it.
it's,
I love it.
French consulate in English, but in French it's Consulat Général de France.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I love that.
would
I love
not
that.
And the
proficient
reason why
in-
that's significant is because back in the day when I was interning, this was like in '99, okay, people would use the white pages. So Google was there, but it wasn't like how it is now, right?
Right.
So they would look for the French consulate, and it's listed as Consulate General of France.
Okay.
But when they go into the white pages, they're looking for French consulate, and they end up getting the French American Chamber. So many of them would call, and we would just refer them. So that's where that is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about the concept of your company,
Yeah.
Simple Networking. What if I were to go to your website, what is it that I can gather from being on your website, and if I'm looking to learn more about the concept of networking and what it means?
Absolutely. So if you go onto the website, what you'll see are different tabs. So there's for the services, you can click on there to see the different types of services. And even the name, it's SN Seminars, because when I first started, it was mostly just giving seminars and workshops. And it started out with like how to network, really. So how do you prepare for a networking event? We're not just going to show up.
Okay. Okay.
We're not just going to show up.
Okay.
We're not going to show up.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. No.
So the reason I want to pause there is because even here in Atlanta, there's so many networking groups, so many networking opportunities, but a lot of people just show up. So I do want you to talk about the importance of being prepared before you show up.
And just to tag on to that, when you talk about being prepared, are you talking about being prepared in the sense of I'm giving this network event, or being prepared in the sense of I'm showing up at this network event and I need to make it be beneficial for me? So, and maybe we're talking about both, but I want to make sure we articulate that for the audience.
So the whole just show up it's kind of, so I'm old school. I love Dougie Fresh. You're half stepping.
Ain't no half stepping up in here.
There's no half stepping
Ain't no half stepping.
Right.
I love
You're
it. I
half
love it.
stepping. When I say, being prepared is like, okay, I've already RSVP'd, right? That's just it's a form of branding. It's a form of courtesy, letting people know that you're going to show up. So if there's food or drinks or anything like that, or there's a certain number of people that have to be there for fire safety, right? Then that's covered. The other thing is making sure you have your business cards, but now we're going more digital. So even having a QR code on your phone so people can scan it.
Yes.
The other thing is kind of anticipating, as you said, if you're attending, what am I going to get out of this event? Who do I want to meet? What connections do I want to make? And sometimes you really don't know. So in order to prepare yourself, you can have your 30-second pitch where you are able to just concisely and quickly, describe who you are, what you do, how you add value.
Your elevator.
Yes,
speech,
your
right?
elevator speech. And then also just being able to ask good questions and answer questions. Someone can ask you like, okay, so what do you do? And just have a concise answer. I do A, B, and C, or I just do A, in that way. And then also, just being able to listen. A lot of times we get so anxious about what the other person's going to say, or I've seen this before. I'm talking to you, but I'm looking around. Who else?
Right. Who's coming in?
Right.
Right.
Listen,
That's true.
you're hitting on so many important points.
Yes, you really
There's
are. I love
nothing more frustrating than being at an event or somewhere, and so you're talking to someone, and their eyes are drifting
Yes,
somewhere else.
right.
So that tells me.
I can see your eyes.
I says, oh,
Right.
You know where right
now
there.
you're devaluing this interaction because you're
Right.
looking for another interaction.
Exactly.
So being present when you're
Yes,
speaking to someone
absolutely.
and not and holding that, you may see someone that you want to see or speak to, but it's like, okay, I see so and so, I'll get with them, when I'm done.
Or even worse, you're speaking to someone and they walk away and start talking to somebody else.
Gee, I think that happened to us, didn't it? We were together. It's happened to me before,
So,
and they just walked off.
One
I
way
was
to
like,
combat that is to be, when you're having the conversation, so let's say we're talking and I see someone, I was like, oh, I noticed one of my colleagues. Let's all go together and I'll introduce you to them, right?
that's respectful.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
That's
Awesome tip. tips.
Usually I'm just like,
But I've experienced that too.
okay.
Yeah, I think we were somewhere, and then we were talking. They were like, "Yeah, yeah," and someone else came up, and they just sort of walked away. And I was like,
goodness.
"I guess we're done. I guess we're done." But that's awesome. I love that tip. I love that tip. Wow.
Now, so that's in regards to when you're attending a
Yes, when
networking
you're
event,
attending.
and I love those pointers. So now, if I'm facilitating
Okay.
a network event, then how do I approach that? What's
So
the
that's really
best way?
good. Definitely connecting with the organizer of the event, whoever's hosting it, letting them know, how you can promote your business, things that you can do. You definitely want to arrive early. You want to arrive early if you have to set anything up, do the mic check, anything like that. And then also, this is one thing that I've noticed with some speakers. I'm not going to say any proper nouns here. They come in, we're going to go to the back room. We're going to get this, we're going to get that, and they're not interacting with the attendees.
Right.
That's a warm welcome. That's a way to kind of warm the crowd before people getting to see you, to touch you, to interact with you before you get on the stage. And then also it can be good material. You're learning about other people, and then when you get on the stage, you can refer to those stories because people love hearing stories. Storytelling is extremely powerful, and it keeps people engaged. So even if you say, I met Key and Will right before the event, and they own this particular business, or they were talking about this in regards, and it's actually related to what I'm talking about today.
Wow.
And that's a way to also promote the people that are there.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, these are things that folks probably really just don't think about, and how they can really maximize that opportunity.
Yes.
Whether you're facilitating the event, or if you're showing up and say, okay, instead of me just showing up at the event, oh, it's an event, tonight at 8 p.m. at the so and so. I'm just going to go and just walk around and just. It's like, no. What is my goal? My goal is to meet 5 people, or my goal is to get 5 contacts, or my goal is to. So I think going with a purpose makes that time so much valuable.
And it really encourages you to stay longer because you have an objective, you have an intention, right? As opposed to, okay, it's been 5 minutes, no one's talked to me, the chicken is cold, let me get out.
Right.
Instead of like, okay, I want to talk to 5 people, I've only talked to 2, so I have to stay longer in order to, meet that goal or that expectation.
Right. Now, talk about if networking is difficult for someone. If you're naturally an introvert, but you know that you've got to do networking because you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to get your business out there, get to know people, how do you combat that anxiety?
And the anxiety is real.
Yeah,
I am an introvert.
and I would never know that.
Really?
We wouldn't know it. We wouldn't know it though.
And the thing is, what I try to tell people is that networking, we operate in networks. So whether you're always doing it, either consciously or subconsciously, I like to compare it to breathing. So when you're born, if you don't have any respiratory problems, you automatically start breathing, right? It's natural. It's a part of being a organism, living organism. You have to breathe. But there are instances where your breathing has to be a little bit more targeted because you're trying to reach a goal. Whether, like for my mom, she's a retired nurse and midwife. So, Lamaze, breathing for childbirthing. Anxiety, having breathing to calm down your nerves and anxiety and stress. For athletes, breathing in order to improve their performance, right? So it's the same way with networking. Networking, I think it's not natural, it's automatic, right? Or it's normal, right? Because we don't say we're natural breathers. You don't get a star for that. You're supposed to breathe. You're supposed to breathe. Right. I'm a natural breather, right? So when they say I'm a natural networker, it's like we operate in networks. You're supposed to do it. It's normal or it's automatic. But there are instances, if you're trying to reach a goal, if you want to be able to make those connections, it has to be a little bit more targeted, more strategic, just like with the breathing. And so that's where like simple networking and some of the things that I talk about come in place, where I want to give structure, but it's not to make it boxy or to make it like, oh, everyone's doing the same thing. But you do want to be able to have a system or a method in place, where you can be successful with it, as well as if you see any gaps, or if you see any type of, you're struggling in a certain area, it's so much easier to catch it when there's some structure in place.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Being very intentional, having a structure in place to make sure that you're maximizing the moment.
I mean, and that question really, your answer resonates with me, because I do have a difficult time networking. I'm out of my natural habitat of, around my friends.
Okay.
Maybe there's some friends there, maybe not. And it's, 9 times out of 10, if Will doesn't go, I'm not going.
Okay.
I'm probably not going at all. And then even if we do go together, I'm like, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
What's interesting is a lot of people don't realize that Keisha is actually an introvert. So am I, but I'm more sociable.
Okay.
It's
So
easier
it's
for him,
easier
I
for me.
feel
It's more
like.
natural for me when I'm sort of out and about, and I just love people. So it's sort of natural for me.
You saying I don't love
No. I'm just saying.
I was waiting for that.
No, Key. I don't know. Do you love me? No, you love people. It's just that's not natural for you. It's like once I introduce you, Chi Chi, she's like, oh, boom. But other than that, it's like she's like, so she's more reserved. So it's
Well,
interesting
I
how
will
you.
say this. So let's say, something happens and there's an event that comes up and Will can't be your networking buddy. So I still want you to go. I still want you to go to the event. But here are some of the things that I do.
Okay.
So you've already RSVP'd, you know what time you're supposed to be there, yada, yada. You can reach out to the organizer. Usually when you register, there is a name or contact number or email in reference to the event. So contact that person 2 or 3 days before.
Okay.
Introduce yourself via email or by phone, however you choose to communicate, whatever's easy for you. And just introduce yourself. Say who you are, your purpose for going to the event, and then here's the kicker. Be like, if I come in 15 minutes early or so, can I come in 15 minutes early and just, talk to you and chat with you? Normally they won't say no, because the goal for for a successful event is to make sure everyone's having fun.
Right,
to make sure
right.
that they enjoy themselves. If it's with a group or organization, they want you to join as a member, refer friends, things of that nature. So when you get to now you gotta get there early.
That's true. That's challenging as well, but okay.
I know, you gotta get there early. And then when you're talking to them, they have the list. They know who's going to be there. And if it's with an organization, then they know the members and they know their backgrounds. So you're not asking, because I've had this happen before. Well, I'm attending this event, can you give me the spreadsheet? It's like, no,
okay.
we can't
Yeah,
do that for
right.
privacy reasons,
Sure,
spam and
yeah.
things of that
Yeah,
nature.
yeah.
No spam, right?
right.
But you can ask, what type of people are going to be there? How many people are going to be there? And, if I've already explained my reason for going, my business. If you know anyone that might be interested, can you introduce me to them when they come,
Yeah.
So that way it takes off a lot of the pressure of you trying to look and find someone and
Right.
talking to so many different people till you find that, that particular
Right,
person.
that you connect with.
Yes,
or
that you
like
connect
you
with.
connect
And it's always nice when someone else introduces you, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
Builds your credibility and your professionalism, and then they're more likely to remember you because they're like, oh yes, so-and-so introduced me here. So it's that's a great, and I do that a lot, and
Okay.
people don't do that.
Okay. Yeah.
People don't do that.
That's helpful. That is definitely helpful. And I think, again, to think about what is your goal for even going to the
Yes.
event? Is it worth your time? Number
Absolutely.
one. And, walking away and ensuring that you're walking away with something that you set out
Absolutely.
to achieve.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier that I want to just take a moment to talk about. You said branding,
Yes.
and I think that's so important. All of us, whether we know it or not, have a personal brand.
Absolutely.
So what is your thoughts on that, and how does that integrate with networking?
Yeah, I did some workshops on branding, and I talk about, us being based here in Metro Atlanta, some of the bigger companies like Coca-Cola and the Home Depot, and how they have created a strong brand, especially for Coca-Cola. Hopefully they'll be a sponsor. But nonetheless, it's been over 130 something years, and and it's one of the most recognizable brands. That
Right.
didn't happen by accident.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so when you think about it, it's from all aspects. Sometimes people think, well, branding is about just my physical appearance. You know, I always wear red lipstick, or I always wear a particular jacket or a bow tie. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when it's time to maybe sell your business or being referred, is that what's going to separate you from your competitors?
Oh, I see.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Or is it going to be, well, because I'm certified in this particular area, or because I've been in business for X amount of years, so I've shown my competitiveness and my credibility or stability, right? Or because we offer very fast and efficient services.
Okay.
You know, so those are the things that you want to talk about when you're networking, and not so much like your physical appearance, which is okay, but when it comes to, okay, who do I refer to you, or who would be a good referral, that's not going to be one of the criteria for it.
Right.
I got you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought, branding has always been something that, especially with the business, that's always been key. Just like, what is my brand? What am I supposed to?
You hear a lot of people talking about branding, but I think sometimes people aren't sure or really understand what that means.
It's interesting because it can be nonverbal, right, with the clothes and things like that, and it can also be your method, the way that you do something, how you deliver something, the way that you talk, even how you answer questions. So I used to teach French classes in the evenings. That was interesting. That's a whole nother episode. And I would talk to the students at Georgia Tech. Very smart, of course, and also students at Emory, very smart as well, but two different brands. So when I would talk, I would say to them, hey, tell me some French brands. So I start with the Georgia Tech students. So they're Georgia Tech. They say Bic, they say Airbus, they say Perrier. Not Perrier, they say Avion. Okay. And then when I go over to the Emory side, they're like Chanel,
Real
Givenchy, Perrier.
Interesting.
So different answers, but they're all correct, but they answered according to their brand. Because we know that Georgia Tech, technical, very functional. So of course they're going to say Airbus. There's a school for aerospace engineering.
Yeah.
BIC, and even Avion. Avion, if you know the bottle, what that looks like, it's very sturdy, it's plastic, it's functional. On the Emory side, because I did graduate from Emory, it's Chanel, right? It's Givenchy. We're all lifestyle. We're about culture.
Yes.
And then Perrier, it's also water, but it's in this shapely glass bottle. That's not something you want to travel with.
Yes.
Right.
So when you're networking and someone asks you a question, challenge yourself to answer according to your brand. Answer the question as it relates to your values, as it relates to how you do business or how you operate, even just how you communicate with people, things like that. I mean, you have to really, step back and really think, but when you answer these questions in a very unique way, then it makes you more memorable.
Right. Lasting impression on people. Yeah.
Man, you're dropping some jewels, Chi Chi. Because I've never thought about. It's almost like intentional networking. Like you have a plan. Like what is this? What is my goal? And thinking about from your perspective, I think that's just amazing.
It is. Because, like you said, it's being more intentional about that time, because you're talking about 2 to 3 hours, of your time. It's usually during the week.
Yes.
You've probably worked a full-time job during the day or whatever, or your own business. And then you're taking that extra time to get dressed up and change, what you have on and attend this event. And I will say, just to be transparent, usually I walk away from networking events exhausted. Like, why did I go?
Right.
What,
You did not have a plan.
That's true.
There was no
I was
purpose.
late, so the food is gone.
Right?
And,
That's your fuel
and
right
it's
there.
cold. And then usually I'm like, Will is a talker. So, so I appreciate you
Framing it.
yes, and giving me a better perspective about networking, because now I think I can definitely approach it differently. So I appreciate that. Do you want to talk about social media?
Yes.
And as a networking tool, maybe?
Yes. So with social media, I think it adds to it. I think there should be a good balance in person and online.
Okay.
And especially now with technology and getting through the pandemic, it's really exploded. And it's something that we're not going to go back to. Like we really need to embrace this.
This is the new
Yes,
day.
this is the new day. And the thing is that you'd have business owners who didn't even have websites before. And that can be very challenging, and I've taken a few courses, always constantly learning and developing. And one of the things that I learned with digital marketing is that, using the internet or using social media is just another way to expand your brand, right? It's another way for people to research and to learn about you and, want to make that connection. And because there's no bounds to it. You can connect with someone overseas and you're not bound to the 6 to 9, physical networking event. You're not going to be in traffic, right?
Right.
Yes, right.
And it's cost effective, right? Yes, there is a missing component with being face to face, but it's also good to balance it. And I definitely like to think about it as I do French, right? I majored in French cultural studies, which my parents still don't think that's a major. It's okay. It's all right.
It's okay.
It's all right. It's okay. It's all right.
It works for you.
It works for me. And when I was learning French, I started learning it in Brooklyn when I was like 11 in middle school. And that's a whole different story. But one of the things I was focused on was I have to be able to read French just as well as I speak it, just as well as I can write it. So when it comes to networking, you want to have that balance. You want to have just as many people and strong contacts in person like you do online. And there are many online groups, with LinkedIn. I'm very, prevalent on LinkedIn. That's my main social media avenue. So I'll post, and that's the other thing. You want to post things that relate to your brand or to your business or your personality, as well, or things that you feel passionate about that are happening in culture and society. But it's not just post it and that's it.
Right.
Have to engage.
Yes, you have to engage.
Okay. Yeah.
And that can be very difficult.
Sure.
So I recommend, having the app on your phone. It's free. Unless you've used up all your app space
That's
and have to buy more storage.
That's a possibility.
But nonetheless, it is free to download. Let me put it like that.
Yes,
it's
yes,
free
yes.
to download.
Yes.
Right.
And you can create different settings so you're not bombarded, right? But it's good to at least, if you catch a bing or get a notification, respond to that.
to it.
Especially if someone likes it or comments or even reposts, because that's just spreading your information, connecting their network to yours.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we found that social media has been very, very instrumental in our business. But I think that there's like anything, there's a bad side to social media. Like there's a bad side to TV and the bad side to all this stuff. But we always say let's look at the positive. What can we do? This podcast, for example, what can we use to share information? To help folks in the right way.
Yeah, the whole concept for us and just doing this podcast is when you know better, you do better. We found that we had so many friends and just connections beyond our friends that were so knowledgeable about so much information. And even as you bring the topic of networking to us, it's so eye-opening. I never even thought about networking on that level, and I would love for us to do something together.
Absolutely.
Again, we have friends who are entrepreneurs and probably could, definitely could benefit from thinking about networking and branding and, maybe some marketing in a totally different perspective. So I truly appreciate this. This is really great for me. I'm excited.
Well, the thing is, I commend both of you for, taking the courage and the time to create this space, create this platform in order to improve, your well-being and those of your networks. And it's so interesting because even with social media, to your point, there's the good and the bad. I think it's like that with everything.
Like everything.
But to be able to safeguard yourself, put up these parameters. I like to say, boundaries per se, but
Right.
parameters
Yeah.
and things of that nature, so that you are moving forward. You are making these strides and progressing, and still not having to deal with a lot of the negative things that come along with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Social media can be very beneficial if used in the right
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. I'm just blown away, Chi Chi.
I am too. So much information.
Where can people find you? I know where I can find you, but let's let our audience know where they can find you.
Well, I mean, I am Googleable. Is that a
Yeah.
term?
Google her.
Googleable.
It is a
If you
term.
write Chi
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 Okezie.
Okezie networking,
Boom.
I tried it yesterday. It's good to go.
That's what I'm talking about. Listen,
Awesome.
listen. I just want to say, thank you for being here. Number one, and sharing all this information. What is one thing, if you could leave with our audience, that you can tell them about networking?
Yes,
the
one thing
benefits?
that I will say is to go ahead and get started. Start where you are. Don't put it off. Don't feel like you can't do it. Remember, you operate in networks. Just start where you are.
Start where you are.
Start where you
I love
are.
that. I love that. Wow. Chi Chi, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You
Yeah.
guys, please make sure you go out. Yes.
It's
Or
SN Seminars.
SN
Seminars.
Yes, we'll put that there so you guys can all make sure you go there. So much valuable information. Definitely, Chi Chi, we would love to bring an event together to do some more teaching for our listening audience. So guys, please make sure you go out. Chi Chi is Googleable. Googleable. Google her. We'll be bringing more to you along with her. So excited about that. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and follow, please, guys, on this podcast. We appreciate you joining in. And what would you like to say, Will?
I would like to say, we love y'all. Networking is what it is. Key and Will in the building with the one and only Chi Chi.
Yay.